Now that we have blue, red, and yellow research cubes, our sights are set on the next major milestone in Dyson Sphere Program, automated interplanetary logistics. But first, let's touch up our production efficiency, shall we? Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more Dyson Sphere Program in our Alpha Andromedae series. So we still have logistics bots that are bringing stuff to us all the time, which is really quite nice of them, but also kind of annoying because I need to bring some things back with me this particular run, and I don't quite have that ability at the moment, I don't believe, unless I put these away. There we go. That'll solve part of the problem. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So we won't have room for a ton of what I need to bring back with me, but we addressed a bit of a silicon shortage, unexpected silicon shortage, right at the end of the previous episode, due to the fact that I just had some setup issues with the silicon production here. So when I expanded this, there were a few issues that have now been resolved. I don't know that the amount of production I currently have is going to be enough. I may yet need to build some additional silicon production, because these lines are completely full. So tell you what, let's go ahead and do that. Just so that we don't leave this planet in this situation again. Okay. Oh, hello. Does that leave you slightly unpowered? Yes, it does. If I put you here, will that be better? Yes, it will. Perfect. And now we will just copy-paste. I'm not going to actually copy-paste the buildings in this case because the sorters need to be in a slightly different spot for these. But this is, of course, a 50% increase in the production of silicon on this particular planet. And I might need to set up a third mine just to make sure that the input does not run dry from being overconsumed. So here we will just do another line. That's perfect. Dyson Sphere Program soundtrack continuing to be inspirational, as always. All right, so why don't we go ahead. I have a mine in my inventory. I can probably move this. Let's do a couple of things here. Actually, that might be perfect. Let's see if we can swing this. Yep. 8 right there. That's amazing. Okay. So with that done, I will need to set up a splitter here, which I probably have. Yes, I do. I do have a splitter. This will not be a frivolous splitter like the first time. Found a rather amusing mistake in the last episode, which is part of the fun with Dyson Sphere Program, really. It's discovering how these things kind of play out as you make little tiny mistakes and then learn from them. Because, again, the game doesn't punish you for them. You just gain the ability to do things a little bit more smoothly next time, while also making things look prettier and prettier every time. Obviously, I didn't start building bases that looked like this in Dyson Sphere Program when I first began playing. It took some time. We had to build up to it. Okay, so where did those go? Yeah, there they are. Let's put them there. Now, thankfully, I have some silicon building up now, which is quite nice. So what I can do with that, because I need to make these, I have some copper in my inventory already, and that's one of the things that's taking up space. So I can manually build some microcrystalline components. That's incredibly rude. I can manually build some of these microcrystalline components in my inventory. I may even be able to do more than that. We'll have to see. Yes, I can. So I can build 2 more. Now I will need to grab some additional silicon here. That's not a problem. And the reason that having these in my inventory is so useful is that we don't have a lot of microcrystalline components. We don't have really any silicon to speak of yet on our homeworld. We haven't imported that because we're making all the things that require it here, which is a little bit different from what I've typically done in the past, but it can be good to spread out the burden of some of this production a bit. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we have a focus on our efficiency. And the main thing that I would like to work on is the proliferators that I set up 2 or 3 episodes back, which I haven't been paying attention to because I've needed these microcrystalline components. So let's go ahead and queue those up as well. And tell you what, why don't I grab that stack too? Because we're currently stacking up silicon. What we're doing with silicon is working. Let's check our power situation. Yep, power-wise, we are just fine, at least for the time being. It looks like maybe if everything gets going full speed on this planet, then it might be a bit of a problem, so I'll have to keep an eye on it. But there will be solutions for that. Beautiful. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I can go ahead and head back. We stocked up on all the things we might need to bring with us. A huge objective for us to pursue. We're less than 2 astronomical units away from Alpha Andromedae 2. A huge objective for us to pursue. Oh, it's very quiet. There we go. I think I mentioned this, when I first played Dyson Sphere Program, the soundtrack was not as varied as it is now. They've roughly doubled or maybe even increased by 50 to 75% the length of the original soundtrack from when Early Access launched. And I actually turned off the music after a while, and I envisioned when doing a series that I might do the same. And we may do it much later, but there's a lot more variety to the music, and there's variety in the tracks that play depending on where you are, what kind of planet you're on, what kind of system you're in. So that has made it easier to leave the music on. But one of the things that was quite nice about that is when I was in space, it was always completely quiet, which was very appropriate in a lot of ways. And it is quiet in terms of the sound effects, but there would be no music. So it was just very eerily calm and quiet whenever I went into space. It was nice. But now we have this very, very synthetic, spacey track playing. But anyway, yes, proliferators. That is our next objective, and we are very close now to being able to build them. As a matter of fact, I think I might be able to queue them up now. Let's take a quick look. I can build 5 of them. And then I will need more circuit boards. Not chips, circuit boards. I'm getting there, slowly but surely. You know, I've recorded thousands of YouTube videos over the years. I've been gone for a while, but my backlog is pretty significant at this point in terms of the content that I've already done. But this is absolutely the most verbally complex game that I've ever commentated on. And I love it because it's good practice for me. But like trying to really get up to speed with all of the various terminology the game uses is a challenge. It truly is. All right, so it seems like we are, because the research that we're running has already used all of the structure matrices it will ever need to make, we're not doing much at the moment with our yellow cubes. So that diamond line has not run dry. If you recall that from the previous episode, that hasn't happened yet. All right, let's go ahead and grab a couple of these because we'll need them. And let's see what else we can do now. I can queue up 5 more. And then it looks like I will need some steel to do any more than that. Ooh, what are we running low on here? Oh, of course we are. Wow. Yeah, that's a rather obvious, glaring problem. 2, 3, 4. Let's fix that right away. Are these level 2 sorters? They are. They're level 2 sorters. I have level 3 sorters now, so I don't need those in my inventory. Hopefully what I'm looking at right now hasn't been an issue for too long. That I've somehow managed to just overlook it. That would be quite frustrating. Okay, so we'll have to wait a moment for all of these to finish, unfortunately. But some of them at least can get going. Alright, so we're almost done with the microcrystalline components. Those 10 computer chips are going to build twice as fast as the microcrystalline components are, maybe even faster than that if their core build time is faster, which they might be. But they build 2 at a time. So it's... Oh yeah. Yeah. It's more than twice as fast. So that's done. Now we're just going to build the 10 proliferators, and then we'll build a whole bunch of the sorters that we need. And I'm just making room for them in my inventory. And the proliferators are going to be a game changer for a lot of the basic level resources that feed into the base for the ore. And we can also add proliferator paint to additional resources after that, but it's good to start with the ore, at least in my experience. Okay, so we're finally getting some of those sorters in place. Let's go ahead and finish placing those. Okay, so how's our power situation on Homeworld? It's fine. Totally okay. Alright, so I'm glad I caught that. That's something that probably hadn't been an issue because there wasn't any research happening, but had I allowed it to progress without spotting it, that would have turned into something more annoying. So let's take a look at how things are floating. Yeah, so it does appear actually that I could benefit from feeding some of these. I see what's happened here. Do you see what's happened? I see what's happened. I'm going to do this as a temporary fix. Oh wait, no. Wrong one. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Oh, I know why. Ugh, this game. Thank you. Thank you so much for that game. I appreciate it very much. Alright, so with that being, you know what? I'm just going to throw away this coal. Screw you. Don't need you. Don't need those trees that I said, oh, I'm going to pick them up on principle. Screw that. Let's pick all of that up. Good lord. So unnecessary. Sometimes, and this particularly happens now with the logistics bots, if they fill you up completely when you're not expecting them to, it can be something of a problem. Alright, so that was the wrong spot for that. Nice. Solar Sail Orbit System is done with its research. Now, ironically, what I'm doing this for is this resource is no longer needed for the time being. So it's kind of annoying, but it's fine. I just want to make sure that this overflow is also feeding back in here. So we've got a buffer set up, but the buffer has been kind of feeding in. It's not really a buffer because the buffer is past the point at which the resources are consumed. So ideally when you set up a buffer, it needs to be set up along the line, not at the end of the line. Otherwise stuff just piles up at the end and you get this effect that we've seen here, where a lot of the resources that would be helpful for the production of a certain cube, when something runs low, like my magnets were running low, that they just kind of sit by and wait for you to do something. Now, let's take a look at my litter situation because I can probably... Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I have a box over here with some crap in it that I can probably afford to just dump some of this stuff in. There we go. And also I have some titanium on me, which I can pour into this storage. There we go. And now we have more space in our inventory. Okay, so we finally can do something with this proliferator paint. Let me show you the awesomeness that is proliferator paint. Where are you? Where did I put you? Was I making it all the way over here? Yes, I was. Okay, so we have iron, stone, coal, and copper. So we're going to need to move the paint a little ways. I'm going to go ahead and put these in my inventory because I'm going to need them. I do have the ability to build level 3 belts, and those are going to be coming right around the corner because there are some additional things that I can build. I mentioned them in the last episode, but we can definitely work on those soon. Okay, let's go ahead and get that built so that it can begin moving. Okay. And because of the way we've set this up, it pulls from our coal line to make this proliferator paint. So we could potentially do more with it later on. But for now, let's see. I do want to check something real quick because I did this with one resource a few episodes back. And this is like more definitively a liquid. So I'm kind of curious if it can be stored as one. It cannot. Question answered. Okay. So let us now, and it's going to take a while for these effects to kick in because the buffers that we have to entirely empty out here, unfortunately. So tell you what, in order to make this as efficient as possible, I'm going to make a couple of changes that might look a little odd. I'm going to have this line loop back like so. I know that looks completely inefficient and goofy, but trust me on this. Okay, so here's how this is going to go. We have a proliferator that is going to sit right here, 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 and here. Those are all 4 of our basic resources. Watch this. Remember, this is all in the name of efficiency. I'm just raising that up by 1 level. We're going to plug the paint into that proliferator, and there we go. It has started working. I'm going to move the paint across. So now all 4 of them are working. And you can see the tank slowly fills up before it begins passing the paint down the line. And so I'll have an idea for the extent to which I need to keep producing proliferator paint in just a second. Let's watch. We need to wait for this one to fill up, and then we'll see how quickly the line backs up. Okay, there we go. So it's starting to back up. It's going to back up here, there, all the way across. So far, that looks pretty good. Now notice that all of the resources feeding out of these proliferators are now marked. Oh, and some of them feeding out are already... Oh, that's very nice. Okay. So since I'm noticing that, I guess the resource storage must be... Oh, that's really nice. So what's happening is that the resource storage is prioritizing the... I think it's because of the splitter mechanic. Because the line is just going through the splitter, these are the ones that are going straight through. And this is full. So maybe as some of the buffers start to empty out, which that will only really happen when the output is slower coming in than the... Or sorry, when the input is slower coming in than the output. When some of the buffers start to empty out, it'll be less the case. But what we can do is, starting in the very bottom, we can set for every single one of these smelters whether we want the painted resources to lead to extra products or faster production. Now, it will increase the energy consumption of these buildings. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set production speed up everywhere I can. It'll take a moment. Actually, let me see if this will copy-paste accordingly. It does. So now what I need to do is select this. All right, so we're pasting not only the recipes there, but we're saying that we want sped up production, and we probably need to increase our copper ingot production here too. So let's copy this. So you can imagine those are two very interesting tweaks. Because I'm using the proliferator paint now, I've just gained an additional kind of degree of nuance with regard to how these resources are brought in to my apparatus. Which I did not have before. And for now, I'm just going to say that I want them to speed up. But it's a huge improvement. Because anytime I want, I can say, okay, you're going fast enough. Like, I want you to produce additional products. I want this to be a more... I want the efficiency to be in terms of the production's... the amount of production, not the speed of production. So when you really start to realize that a particular problem is because of either you're not producing fast enough or it's that not enough is being produced in a certain amount of time, which is remarkably similar, but in certain situations, you know, can play out differently in your logistics chain, you now have the ability to tweak that on your own. And it's really, if you've never noticed a situation where that is necessary as a fix, then it's hard to understand and even hard to explain why that nuance is better. But, and we can talk about it in the comments if you would like, if you'd like to learn more about it right now. But my point is that you will really learn about it at the moment that you're like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and add this because this will fix this specific problem that I'm seeing and I have no other way to fix it other than using the proliferator paint. So that's a huge benefit to us, and it's now going through the entire base's essential production line. So I will note that that's only affecting... It's only affecting the resources at this point in the production process. So some of the resources that we're using the most of right now, I mean this resource, for example, everything that is made using energetic graphite, I could also bring some proliferator paint here, maybe delete this particular arc smelter and bring in a proliferator for use here and draw the paint in and have it paint every single bit of energized graphite that comes through this line. So that then everything that went in here and everything that went to the diamond production and everything you see that's connected to this vital resource of energetic graphite would be either, again, faster or it would make more. Oh, we have a problem. You see the problem? Let's go see how we can solve it. And we also need to figure out why it's a problem. All right, it's probably that yeah, I think I see what's happened here. The rate of oil production from our initial oil drill has slowed down. Now, thankfully, I have some additional extractors. So this is a relatively quick fix. Let me look around, find the closest seep, because you can see it's now below 2 per second. When we first tapped it, it was above 3 per second. So it makes complete sense. All right, there's a 3.2 over here. I'm going to go ahead and build both of these. We're going to tap both at once, because by doing that, we get a couple of advantages. Let's see. I'm going to bring you to right about... First of all, we get more oil to fix the problem we just caught. But on top of that, by tapping 2 at once, the rate at which their production declines will be lower, because we'll be exhausting each one at approximately half the rate. Approximately. So usually when I start expanding my oil production, I will always do this. So I think what I'll do here is just build Tesla towers straight down to the equator. There we go. Relatively soon, I will have the ability to build those better energy distribution buildings that are better than Tesla towers and less messy. We're almost there. Not quite, but we're almost there. All right, so we already see an increase in our oil output here. Let me build a... splitter. Connect that line there. Connect this line here. So we're literally making an oil pipeline. That's one thing that I would be curious to see if they change in the future. Like, the movement of liquid resources along belts is one of the things that visually is a little bit more incongruous with the physical accuracy of a lot of the rest of the simulation. So I would love for them to add pipelines to the game as a movement option for conveyor belts, or for liquids, as a replacement for conveyor belts. I think that would be great. If there's a reason it's not a good idea, I'm open to hearing about it, but I think it would be awesome. Yeah, so we're definitely paying the price for not catching that a little sooner right now. I think that's one of the things that's slowing our research down, to be honest. But also the research, actually, our research is not going that slowly, all considered. It's just using one type of cube, so it looks like it's going slowly. Okay, now how we do this is going to be a little bit tricky. Let's build this a little bit lower down, and while they're working on that, well, let me get that done. I'm just going to have to come over here and look at it real quick. Yeah, I see the solution. All right, here's what we'll do. We're going to build a raised line like so. I still want to have room to expand this entire apparatus as needed. Eventually, oil production will be moved off-world. There are much, much, much more resource-rich worlds in terms of oil that you can find than your home planet. But for now, we really need to be mining the crap out of our home planet's resources as much as possible. Sad but true. Okay, and there we have it. Having those level 3 belts will help with this situation as well to a degree, but this by itself will really fix... Yeah, our entire production line is just shut down here. You can see it. This entire line of refiners was just not functioning because oil was no longer backed up in this storage. So just to make sure that is not as big of a problem next time it happens, I'm going to go ahead and build some tanks. Just kidding, no I'm not. I do not have iron ingots. All right, notice that we're building up magnets again. That's quite nice. You can see because there are magnets in our magnet buffer. All right, now we're going to build tanks, please. Am I going to build tanks? There they are. Let's just go ahead and queue up a few just to have on hand. Yeah, that's a dramatic improvement. So now this entire apparatus is running again. It does mean that our energy production has climbed significantly, but I'm glad I spotted that because it might have been that way for an episode or two before I caught it. But then again, it might have just dropped below this recently. It might have hit a threshold to where it could no longer really split between two, which makes sense because, I mean, if it's going in at a certain rate, and it needs to be split in 2 different directions, and the production rate was down below 2 per second, it makes sense that one would start to suffer, and it wouldn't be able to evenly split in both directions sustainably. So I might be overthinking that or underthinking that. But anyway, on that note, we're 30 minutes in. I'm going to stop this episode here. In the next one, we're going to maybe take one more look at what we can do with proliferator paint here. We do have fuel coming back down the line now to our power plant, so those are coming back online. But we're going to see what else we can do maybe with proliferator paint so that we can make the entire efficiency of our initial apparatus here a little bit better. It might be that we can apply the proliferator paint to the fuel. I've never tried that before, but that's one thing that might actually work. Hang on, let's see if there's an option. No, there's not. So we're not going to try applying it to the fuel. We're not going to try and paint the fuel. That seems a little bit silly. But there might still be something that we can do in particular with some of our second stage resources, which you can start to see over on this side of things. So I'm going to work on that more in the beginning of the next episode as we continue to move towards that coveted prize of interplanetary logistics. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. If it's not your first time or even your second, look for the join button to access unique emotes, badges, and other perks. New episodes are coming out every day at noon U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.